Shadows of Conquest. The Crenari believed that history belonged to them. 16,000 years of unbroken conquest had spread their empire across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their crystalline ships, vast geometric structures that folded space like origami, were feared in every system they approached. When the Crenari arrived, civilizations knelt or perished. This was the natural order. Admiral Zurich stood on the command platform of the unrelenting Axiom, his flagship that spanned nearly 5 kilometers from bow to stern. Through the panoramic viewing wall, he observed the small blue-green planet below. Earth, another insignificant world to add to the registry of the Crenari Collective. Preliminary assessments, he asked, his 4-fingered hand brushing across the neural interface embedded in the flesh of his throat. Supreme Tactician Velisra stepped forward, her scaled skin shimmering under the command deck's amber lighting. Primitive by all measures. Admiral, they've barely left their gravity well. Nuclear capabilities, but limited. No unified planetary government. Multiple competing factions. They call themselves humans. Resistance probability. Negligible. Our models suggest complete capitulation within 3 standard cycles once we deploy the first wave. Zurich nodded, the bony ridge along his skull catching the light. Standard protocol then. Begin atmospheric penetration. Deploy scout forces to major population centers. I want key military installations neutralized before their governing bodies can properly respond. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had performed this ritual on 1,000 worlds before. The Crenari way was methodical, scientific in its brutality. First came the scouts, then the suppressors, and finally the extractors. Earth would be stripped of resources, its population catalogued, and the useful specimens redirected to labor colonies across the empire. Admiral, Velisra's voice suddenly carried an unfamiliar note. Our scout ships are reporting anomalies. Zurich turned sharply. Explain. The first wave has entered Earth's atmosphere, but we're losing telemetry. All 30 scout vessels have gone silent. The command deck fell silent. This was unprecedented. Scout vessels carried the most advanced Crenari technology, self-repairing hulls, quantum communication arrays that functioned across interstellar distances. They did not simply go silent. Launch the second wave, Zurich ordered after a moment's calculation. Full combat protocol. 200 vessels. They watched as the crystalline ships detached from the fleet and descended toward Earth like a geometric storm. The initial concern transformed into confusion, then alarm, as ship after ship disappeared from their sensors. What is happening? Zurich demanded, his composure fracturing. Unknown. Admiral, Velisra's hands moved frantically across the data fields floating before her. The vessels simply vanish. No distress signals. No debris. They're there, and then they're not. For the first time in his 300-year career, Admiral Zurich felt fear crawl along his spine. Full fleet deployment. I want orbital bombardment of all major human military installations. Now. The Crenari warships moved into position, their crystal matrices aligning to channel energy that could crack a planet's crust. The weapons charged, energies building to world-shattering levels. Then the sensors screamed warnings. Something was rising from Earth's atmosphere. Not ships, at least not in any configuration the Crenari recognized. They appeared almost organic, dark, undulating forms that absorbed light rather than reflected it. They moved with impossible speed, bypassing defensive screens that had repelled the most advanced weapons in known space. Admiral, Velisra's voice had risen to a pitch Zurich had never heard before. They're attaching themselves to our ships. The first Crenari dreadnought imploded in a flash of twisted light and matter. Then another, and another. The destruction wasn't explosive. It was methodical, as if the vessels were being dissected. Retreat, Zurich whispered, then found his voice. Full retreat. All ships, emergency fold now. But the order came too late. The unrelenting Axiom shuddered as something attached to its hull. The last thing Admiral Zurich saw before emergency protocols sealed the command deck was a section of bulkhead peeling away like skin from fruit, revealing something dark and glistening underneath. On Earth, humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a facility known only as Terminus, Commander Elena Wright watched the battle unfold through satellite imagery. Around her, dozens of scientists and military personnel monitored data streams from the deployed Nemesis units. "They took the bait," Elena said, her breath fogging in the cold air of the command center. "All Nemesis units are operational and engaging." Dr. Marcus Chen nodded beside her, his eyes never leaving his monitor. "Biomechanical interface is stable. The pilots are maintaining cohesion." The Nemesis program had been Earth's deepest secret. When the first alien probe had been detected at the edge of the solar system 15 years ago, humanity had made a choice. Rather than wait for contact, they had prepared for war. Not with conventional weapons. Humanity knew it couldn't match an interstellar civilization in firepower, but with something the aliens wouldn't expect. "How are the pilots holding up?" Elena asked, concern etching lines around her eyes. "Stable for now," Dr. Chen replied. "The neural load is immense, but they're managing. The symbiotic relationship with the Nemesis organisms is maintaining balance." The Nemesis units weren't ships in any traditional sense. They were living weapons, semi-organic constructs grown from modified human DNA, combined with a mysterious substance found in an ancient meteor buried deep in Earth's crust. The material responded to human consciousness in ways science still couldn't fully explain. It could be shaped by thought, programmed by emotion, and when merged with a human pilot through direct neural interface, it became something terrifying. Each Nemesis unit carried a volunteer pilot, soldiers who had undergone extensive genetic modification to survive the symbiosis. Their consciousness extended throughout the organism, feeling through its sensory apparatus, directing its movements. For all practical purposes, they became the weapon. "Cranary Fleet is attempting emergency spatial fold," reported Lieutenant Yuri Volkov from his station. "Intercept," Elena ordered. "We can't let them report back." On the main display, they watched as the Nemesis units pursued the retreating aliens. The units moved with predatory grace, stretching and flowing through space in ways that defied conventional physics. They caught the fleeing ships one by one, enveloping them in their dark mass. "Analysis from captured ships is coming in," Dr. Chen announced. "Their technology is remarkable. Crystalline computing matrices, gravitational manipulation on a scale we've only theorized." "And their weapons?" Elena asked. "Planet killers, if they'd had time to deploy it fully." He left the implication hanging. Elena nodded grimly. "Then we made the right call. Nemesis was the only option." The Cranary had never encountered anything like the Nemesis units. Their technology was built on order, precision, and predictability. The Nemesis constructs were the opposite: organic, adaptable, evolving in real time. They learned from each engagement, became more efficient with each kill. "Last Cranary vessel neutralized," Lieutenant Volkov reported. "All Nemesis units report successful capture of technology samples." A cheer rippled through the command center, but Elena didn't join in. She was watching the vital signs of the Nemesis pilots: elevated heart rates, neural patterns showing increasing stress. "Recall all units," she ordered. "The pilots need extraction." The battle was won, but Elena knew this was just the beginning. The Cranary wouldn't send just one fleet. They would come again, in greater numbers, with knowledge of what awaited them. Humanity needed to prepare, and the captured Cranary technology would give them the means to take the fight beyond Earth. As the Nemesis units returned to Earth, carrying with them the secrets of interstellar travel and advanced weaponry, Elena made a silent promise to the pilots who had risked more than their lives in this first engagement. Humanity would not merely defend, They would strike back at the heart of the empire that had so casually marked their world for conquest. The Crenari had ruled the stars for 16 millennia, but they had never encountered humanity. And now, they would learn to fear us, reckoning among the stars. 3 years passed in feverish preparation. Earth transformed as Crenari technology was reverse-engineered and integrated with Nemesis biotechnology. Cities built underground fortifications. The nations of Earth, for the first time in history, united under a single banner: survival. In a massive construction facility hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, humanity's answer to the Crenari threat took shape. They called it Leviathan, a vessel unlike any created before, part machine, part organism, built around a core of captured Crenari crystal matrices, but infused with the same responsive biological material that made the Nemesis units so lethal. Commander Elena Wright stood on the observation platform, watching as final preparations were made. Leviathan dominated the cavernous dock, a dark, undulating mass nearly 15 kilometers long. Unlike the sleek, geometric precision of Crenari vessels, Leviathan appeared almost grown rather than built. Its hull rippled occasionally, like muscle beneath skin. "Are you sure about this?" Dr. Chen asked, standing beside her. He had aged visibly in the last 3 years, the stress of the project etched into deep lines around his eyes. "No," Elena answered honestly, "but we're out of time. Our deep space monitors have detected a massive Crenari fleet assembling at the edge of our solar system. They'll be here within months. The neural interface is stable, but the integration of Crenari crystal tech with the biological components is still experimental. And the power requirements." He shook his head. "We're asking 500 pilots to merge with something we barely understand." "They volunteered," Elena reminded him. "Just like I did." Chen looked at her sharply. "You're not going. We need you here, coordinating Earth's defenses." Elena shook her head. "The defense plan is set. Admiral Okafor can handle implementation. Leviathan needs someone who understands both the military and scientific aspects of what we've created. I'm going." Before Chen could argue further, a voice came over the facility's communication system. "Commander Wright, final systems check is complete. Leviathan is ready for pilot integration." Elena gave Chen's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "This was always the plan, Marcus. We don't just defend. We take the fight to them." Leviathan's mission was audacious. Using the captured Crenari fold technology, they would bypass the approaching fleet entirely and strike directly at the heart of the Crenari Empire. If successful, they would force the Crenari to recall their forces to defend their homeworld, giving Earth time to prepare for a longer conflict. If they failed, Earth would face the full might of the Crenari with no warning. The pilot integration chamber was a massive spherical room at Leviathan's core. 500 integration pods were arranged in concentric circles, each containing a volunteer who had undergone years of genetic modification and neural training. Elena took her place in the central pod. As the integration sequence began, she felt the familiar cold rush of the neural interface fluid flooding the chamber, followed by the tingling as the nanoscale connectors bonded with her nervous system. Then came the expansion, the disorienting sensation of her consciousness stretching, merging with hundreds of others, spreading throughout Leviathan's vast form. She felt the power of the Crenari crystals pulsing like a heartbeat, the living tissues of the hull as if they were her own skin. Integration complete, she heard /felt/thought, the distinction between verbal communication and direct neural connection blurring. All systems operational. Leviathan is awake. There was a moment of profound silence as hundreds of minds adjusted to their shared existence. Then, with a thought that originated from everywhere and nowhere, Leviathan moved. The massive dock doors opened, and the vessel rose through specialized tunnels that led to the ocean surface. When Leviathan breached, displacing thousands of tons of water, satellites captured images that would become iconic, a vast, dark shape, somehow both mechanical and alive, rising from Earth's oceans like a primordial deity. Without hesitation, without ceremony, Leviathan accelerated upward. Earth's gravity seemed to have minimal effect on it. Within minutes, it had left the atmosphere behind. The fold drives, reverse-engineered from captured Crenary technology, activated, and space itself bent around the vessel. The journey that should have taken decades at conventional speeds lasted mere hours as Leviathan tore through the fabric of space-time. When they emerged, they were deep within Crenary territory, orbiting a rust-colored world surrounded by defensive platforms and crystalline ships. Zenith, the Crenary homeworld. On the surface of Zenith, in the towering crystal spire that served as the seat of the Crenary High Command, Supreme Overlord Sarek received the impossible news. "Verified?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. "Yes, Supreme Overlord." The messenger trembled slightly. "An unknown vessel has appeared in orbit. It matches no known configuration, but preliminary scans suggest biological components similar to the weapons that destroyed Admiral Zurek's fleet." Sarek rose from his crystalline throne. For 8,000 years, the Crenary had ruled unchallenged. Their empire spanned 3 spiral arms. They had crushed civilizations that had existed for millennia before the first Crenary achieved sapience. And now, a species that had barely mastered atomic energy had not only repelled a Crenary fleet, but had managed to strike at the heart of the empire itself. "Deploy the Home Guard," he ordered. "All of them." In orbit above Zenith, Leviathan faced the massed might of the Crenary Home Guard. 10,000 ships, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even Leviathan's impressive bulk. Within the neural integration chamber, Alina felt the collective determination of Leviathan's pilot consciousness. There was fear, yes, they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. But also resolution. They had come too far to turn back. Defensive systems at full capacity. Came the distributed thought from the tactical pilots. Offensive capabilities primed. The Crenary struck first, a coordinated barrage from 100 capital ships. Energy beams powerful enough to crack planets lanced toward Leviathan. But Leviathan was not merely a ship. It was an organism, with reflexes and adaptability no conventional vessel could match. It contracted, expanded, shifted in ways that defied conventional physics. The beams that should have vaporized it instead passed through empty space, where Leviathan had been microseconds before. Then Leviathan counterattacked. Sections of its hull extruded, forming tentacle-like structures that stretched impossible distances. These tendrils wrapped around Crenary ships, crushing crystalline hulls, or injecting a form of the biotechnology that had created Leviathan itself. Infected ships turned on their allies, their crystal matrices reprogrammed at the quantum level. Massive energy discharges erupted from pores in Leviathan's surface, not in straight beams, but in twisting, seeking patterns that followed Crenary vessels through their evasive maneuvers. The space around Zenith became a chaos of crystalline fragments and twisted energy as the Crenary Home Guard, the elite of the Empire, undefeated for thousands of years, found themselves outmatched by a single enemy vessel. Their breaking formation, Alina observed through Leviathan's distributed sensory network, pushed the advantage. Target their command structure. Leviathan surged forward, ignoring the smaller vessels to focus on the massive command ships that coordinated the Crenary defense. One by one, these ships fell silent, their crystal matrices shattered or subverted. Within hours, the space around Zenith was littered with the remains of the Home Guard. Leviathan, though wounded in dozens of places where Crenary weapons had managed to penetrate its defenses, remained functional. Alina directed their attention to the planet below. Open a communication channel. All frequencies, all methods they might understand. When the connection was established, she projected a singular thought, amplified by Leviathan systems and broadcast to every receiver on the Crenary homeworld. "I am Commander Alina Wright of Earth. Your fleet that came to conquer us was destroyed. Your Home Guard lies shattered around your world. We could destroy your civilization as you have destroyed so many others. But that is not our way." She paused, feeling the collective consciousness of the pilots supporting her, reinforcing the message with their shared resolve. "Earth does not seek empire. We seek only to exist free from threat. Return your fleet. Recall your forces from all territories acquired through conquest. Establish diplomatic relations with all spacefaring civilizations based on mutual respect. Do this, and we will leave your homeworld intact." The response came quickly, a surrender so complete that some among Leviathan's pilot consciousness suspected deception. Supreme Overlord Sarek himself appeared on the communication feed, his posture showing deference unprecedented in Crenary history. "The Crenary Collective acknowledges your terms," he said, the translation matrix converting his complex harmonic language. "Our fleets are being recalled. We seek dialogue." Elena felt satisfaction ripple through Leviathan's collective consciousness, but she maintained focus. "We will verify your compliance. Leviathan will remain in your system until your fleet returns. Any act of aggression will be met with immediate response." As the communication ended, she felt exhaustion sweep through the pilot network. Maintaining the merged consciousness for such an extended period was taking its toll. "Establish stable orbit," she directed. "Rotate pilot consciousness in shifts. We stay until verification." Over the next weeks, the Crenary proved true to their word. Their vast fleet returned to zenith in waves, thousands of crystal ships folding back into normal space, weapons powered down, broadcasting peaceful intentions. More surprising were the diplomatic envoys that began to arrive from other civilizations, species the Crenary had subjugated or threatened, coming to witness the unprecedented humbling of the ancient empire and to establish contact with the humans who had accomplished it. When Leviathan finally returned to Earth 3 months later, it brought with it not just victory, but a transformed galaxy. Dozens of alien civilizations, freed from Crenary dominance, sought alliance with the humans who had achieved what none of them had dared to attempt. The crystalline ships that had once brought terror now came in peace, bearing knowledge and technology offered freely in gratitude and respect. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged not just surviving, but ascended. Not through conquest as the Crenary had done, but through courage, innovation, and a refusal to kneel before a power that thought itself unstoppable. They had ruled the stars for 16,000 years, until they faced Leviathan from Earth.